Hey guys, it's Clovis, and today we are going to do a video on how Destiny Draw works. So, your Destiny Draw depends on the situation you're in on the field, your deck leader's rank, and some random number generation. You have to have less than 1,000 life points to Destiny Draw. Your rank also must meet a minimum requirement depending on your deck leader, which needs to be First Lieutenant or Lieutenant Colonel. All Dark, Light, and Wind cards need to be Lieutenant Colonel, whereas all Earth, Fire, and Water cards only need to be First Lieutenant. The only exception to this rule is Wind Insects, as they only require a rank of First Lieutenant to Destiny Draw. So let's draw up the table for Destiny Draws, just to get a better picture of how they work. So there are 7 different conditions you can meet for the game to determine what Destiny Draw you receive, and each condition itself, if you meet those requirements, will give you one of 3 cards at random. If your deck leader is above Rear Admiral, you will always get the first card in each of these conditions out of the 3 total for each condition. However, if your deck leader is Rear Admiral or below, then you have a 20% chance to receive the first card, 25% chance to receive the second, and then a 55% chance to get the last card. When you're Destiny drawing, your turn starts with the condition being decided, but the game won't randomly generate the card in your hand until you actually draw it and get that cool lightning effect. And obviously, if you have a deck leader above Radom, there's no RNG there. Once you meet the condition, you're guaranteed to get the first card in the row. So now that we've had a look at all these Destiny Draw conditions, let's try to replicate them one by one. I'll be using a high level deck leader for each of these, so it will only ever give me the first card in each of these conditions. Before I start off with the rows that include Woodland Sprite and Arsenal Bug, I do want to again clarify that you won't be able to summon these anyway apart from Destiny drawing them, and if your deck leader is above Rear Admiral, the game will never give you these cards. So for summoning Woodland Sprite, Arsenal Bug, especially if you're looking for to get a full library in the game, you have to Destiny draw them, and you would need a deck leader that is Rear Admiral or lower. I've already done a video on these 2 conditions, so I'll also be linking that video in the description below. By the way, in all this footage, in case you're wondering why I moved Jiraiya, that is just to reduce my life points from 1000 to below 1000 to trigger the Destiny Draw. So, for the Woodland Sprite row, the row containing Mirror Force, Dark Hole, and Woodland Sprite, these are the conditions you need to meet. So, the highest attack monster on the field needs to meet 3 conditions itself. 1, it must be opponent controlled. 2, it must be a fiend monster, and 3, it must be less than 3 squares within your deck leader's space. An additional condition for this is your opponent must control at least 3 fiends. So if you want to get Woodland Sprite, your opponent has to control at least 3 fiends, and one of those must be the highest attack monster on the field. And that monster also needs to be within attacking range of your deck leader, basically. If you manage to meet this requirement, you have a 50% chance to get Woodland Sprite. So you're going to have to keep trying this until you get it. What I did was actually go into the custom duel with a deck full of fiend stuff. Gave the deck all these fiends, and you can use stuff like Dark Piercing Light to flip them up to see what the most powerful one is. Try and aggro with your deck leader. It might take you a few tries, but eventually you will get it. So for row number 2, including Raigeki, Dark Hole, and Arsenal Bug, you have to have an insect as your deck leader. So remember, you want a Earth or Wind insect deck leader that has at least 1 LT but lower than Rear Admiral. That is if you want a chance to get Arsenal Bug. The other condition is your opponent must control at least 3 monsters that have an attack of at least 3000 but less than 4,000. They can be 3,000 attack monsters, but they can't be 4,000. It's between 3,000 and 3,999. The other condition is they must be monsters that do not benefit from forests, so they can't be beasts, beast warriors, insects, or pyros. If you successfully meet these conditions, it will give you the Arsenal Bug row, and if you have a low level deck leader, then you have a 55% chance to get Arsenal Bug. So if you're trying to meet the conditions for this, just make sure you don't use Fiends, otherwise the game can give you Arsenal Bug instead. If you want to summon the Arsenal Bug, then you have to have an insect deck leader that is Rear Admiral or lower. Again, I know I've repeated this like a lot of times, but I don't know, maybe some people have clicked off the video and they're not actually reading the text and they're just listening. If you have a deck leader that is a higher rank than Rear Admiral, then you're never going to draw these cards, and the only way to get them in your library is to Destiny draw them. So row number 3 is the Earthshaker row. It contains Dark Hole, Earthshaker, and Earthshaker. So your chances of getting Earthshaker here are like 80%. There's no actual map in the game that will let you do this, so you'll have to do a custom duel. You don't actually have to do this, you can just enter the code for Earthshaker. The game actually gives you the code for Earthshaker. But we're here anyway, so let's do it. To meet this Earthshaker row requirement, there must be at least 31 Labyrinth squares. You must control no monsters that go through Labyrinth, and your opponent must control at least 3 monsters that can go through Labyrinth. If you meet these requirements, you will get the row containing Dark Hole and 2 Earthshakers. I am using a high level deck leader, so I'm going to get Dark Hole here. So row number 4 contains Ryoku, Rageki, and Raigeki. So for this row, your opponent must control the highest attack monster. The highest attack of cards out of your hand must be lower than that monster's attack, and the difference must be lower than half of your opponent's life points. Again, I'm going to get Ryoku because I have a high level deck leader. However, if you're not, then you're very likely to get Raigeki instead, which I guess they just give you because you can just flip it up in front of that monster and kill it. This is actually the only condition to actually Destiny draw Ryoku, funnily enough. Again, if you're a high enough level deck leader, you're guaranteed to draw it when you meet this requirement. But again, you can always just use Mimicat or Copycat or Grave Robber or something like Magician of Faith. If you want to revive, you can revive the enemy Chakra or Skull Knight. The Manawadan Fabuleur, you can just revive their Ryoku after they use it, and then it will show up in your library, so you don't actually have to do this one. Alright, so you probably clicked on this video for cards like Ryoku and Raigeki, Woodland Sprite, Arsenal Bug, but you might find this interesting. There's actually a condition in the game to Destiny draw Royal Decree and Harpie's Feather Duster, so yeah, that is this row. It's Royal Decree, Harpie's Feather Duster, Royal Decree. To meet this condition, you have to control the highest attack monster, not your opponent, but you. And the other condition simply is your opponent must have at least 4 trap cards on the field. So if your opponent has 4 trap cards, you control the highest attack monster, and you have less than 1,000 life points, the game will give you this Destiny draw, and if you're high enough rank, like your deck leader is high enough, it'll just straight up give you a Royal Decree. So yeah, very interesting Destiny draw. Again, you don't need to actually Destiny draw these cards. There's passwords for both of them. You can also get Harpie's Feather Duster via 3 in a row, but that's beside the point. I really just wanted to highlight that the game can actually give you a Royal Decree from Destiny draw. It's pretty ridiculous, but it is true. Now you'll also notice row number 6 and row number 7. There are not any specific conditions to get either of these rows. Instead, these are the rows that games give you when the game wants to give you a Destiny draw and you haven't met any of the other conditions. So if you're a high enough rank, your life point drops below 1,000, and you haven't met any of the conditions on the other one, then the game will give you row 6 or row 7. And again, if your deck leader is Rear Admiral or above, that means you're going to get Mirror Force or Raigeki, depending on if it chose the 6th or the 7th condition. So yeah, pretty strange. Again, if you're lower than Rear Admiral, you do have a chance to get Dark Hole, Soul's Revealing Light, Dian Keto the Cure Master. But yeah, this is literally all the cards you can Destiny draw in the entire game. So yeah, there's no Kinetic Soldier. Instead, if you want Kinetic Soldier in your library, you have to revive it from the Chakra Manowar and Fabula. You need to either destroy it and then revive it with something like Mimicat or Monster Reborn, or I believe you can actually take control of it with Change of Heart or Brain Control, and that should count as you using it. Whether you control it or just to be safe, move it, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, if you want to play Kinetic Soldier, you can't actually Destiny draw it, despite the fact that you can Destiny draw the other overpowered 3-star monsters with crazy effects. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.